and welcome to Tomi Talks TV, the place to be to build great love relationships. I'd like to start by saying a very big thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and for all the emails that you send me. I really appreciate your feedback. And for all of you that are spreading the message to others that need it, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it. Now, today I'm going to be talking to you about how to deal with destructive anger, because that is really crucial in building a strong relationship or a strong marriage. Now, anger is just inevitable. It's one of those things that you will always experience as a human being. It's a human emotion, and you will never get to the point in your life where you're so spiritual that you don't feel angry. I mean, even Jesus felt angry at some point in his life. But you see, what determines how spiritual you are is not the fact that you felt anger, but how you deal with your anger. And that's really what the issue is. Unresolved anger is a huge challenge in marriage, because unresolved anger attacks the intimacy in your marriage. Because usually what happens is that people take the energy that they should use to passionately love their spouse, and they use that energy, they redirect it towards being angry with their spouse. And that's how people end up in the divorce court, because they don't resolve their anger as it occurs, so it piles up and piles up to the point where they literally explode. So that's not a helpful way to deal with anger. Now, people tend to approach anger in two different ways. There are those that tend to withdraw, and there are those that tend to attack. Now, neither of these ways of dealing with anger is helpful. When people withdraw, essentially what they do is that they stop interacting with their spouse, they stop talking to their spouse, you see. But the Bible says something about not allowing the sun to go down on your anger, or essentially don't go to bed with unresolved anger. Because usually what happens is that when you go to bed without resolving an issue, it builds up and it blows up until it becomes such a big thing in your mind, because you know all sorts of thoughts are going through your mind about what your spouse meant when they did what they did, you know, and the devil accuses your spouse of evil motives, you know, things that they never actually meant in the first place, you know. So it's very dangerous when you go to bed with unresolved anger, when you withdraw, because it becomes a bigger thing than if you dealt with it in the first place. On the other hand, attacking is never a way to solve the issue, because when you go on the attack, it's like feeling like you can correct, or you can correct bad behavior by your own bad behavior. Because if you feel that someone has hurt you, the way to solve that problem is not by going on the attack, you know, verbal abuse, you know, that never solves the problem. So you need to face your anger in a constructive manner. And there are 5 things you need to be thinking about when you want to resolve anger in a marriage. The first of all is choose your timing carefully. So if something happens, you may not necessarily speak about it at that particular time, because if you're upset, you know, you're really angry, that might not be the best time to talk about it. So take a little bit of time to cool off, but then you still need to come back to it that same day. The second thing is for you to choose the right setting. So choose the right place. Don't get into an angry discussion with your spouse when your children are there or when other people are there. Choose a place where you're both alone and you can sit down and you can talk through the issues together without other people being involved in it. The third thing is to be careful to choose the right words when you start. Science has shown, it's been proven by research, that the first 3 minutes of a discussion determines the direction in which that discussion is going to go. So if you start off harshly by saying to your spouse, well, you always do this, or you never do that, or you go on the attack, you can be sure that that's the direction which the conversation is going to go, because your spouse is going to simply withdraw, or they're going to come on the attack as well because they feel defensive. So choose your words carefully. Another thing you also need to be aware of is to be specific when you're sharing with your spouse the things that you feel about. So be clear about what you're talking about. Don't drag in issues that happened ages ago, you know, and you know, things they did in the past and all that. Be specific and deal with it as an isolated situation, so they know exactly what it is that you're dealing with. And then lastly, you need to be, you know, to remind your spouse that you're both on the same side. So, you know, never behave as if your spouse is the problem there in that situation, but, you know, keep affirming the fact that you're both on the same side, but this is something that matters to you and you would like to see it resolved. Now, if your spouse comes to you and they want to resolve an issue, you need to remember that the way you respond matters a great deal. The Bible says that a soft answer turns away wrath. So if you answer in a soft manner, then it dispels all the anger and the negative feeling, and you can talk about it in a constructive manner, and you can restore intimacy in your marriage. Well, I hope this has helped you. If this has helped you, then please leave me a message on Facebook or Twitter. And if you've got a question you would like me to answer, then head on over to tommytalks.com/ask, and I'll answer your question next time. See you next time. Bye-bye.